and welcome to Thinking is Free, proudly brought to you by Chinmaya Mission New Zealand.
Hariom Mishanji.
Hariom Akash.
So have you been watching the news or hearing the news lately about all the protests going on around the world?
No, I haven't.
Right.
Tell me about it.
There's a couple of groups
Mm-hmm.
that have come to light recently. So there's the Just Stop Oil group over in the UK and they're quite international over in...
Was this the group that invaded the pitch at the Lords?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have heard about these ones.
And even the ones that went and canned the Mona Lisa as well.
Yes,
Defaced the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
I think even at Wimbledon, they got onto there. It's just wherever kind of these events are, these people are coming in, protesting, and also a little closer to home in Australia, there's, I think it was a guy who owns a restaurant and he got a bad review by someone who doesn't eat meat. And so he said he was banning vegans, which has caused a massive uproar.
Yep.
You know, and where this vegan protester has come and protest in his restaurant now.
Yeah.
And she's walked
And
through.
the person who's banned vegans.
Yeah.
So she went into, or this person went into the restaurant.
The person who went into the restaurant who's banned vegans.
Yep.
And she's gone into the restaurant and she's saying it's inhumane. She's playing noises of pigs squealing and, you know, and that's caused a lot of harm to the owner of the business.
Yep.
So much so where, you know, his relationships are breaking. It's brought all this unwanted attention to him.
Yeah.
And so I thought it'd be good to have just this discussion, you know, where do you kind of draw the line between when you're doing something for a good or pure intent, or you're practicing some good values.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you've got, you know, people who are almost preaching and putting this out onto other people and saying, you know, making them question through such intense action.
Yeah.
You know, how do we see this through the lens of Vedanta? What does Vedanta have to say about this?
There's no one straight answer for it. It has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. So it's good that, you know, people are passionate about a particular cause and they're willing to stand up for it, give it time, give it energy, give it their efforts to raise awareness. And that's the only way we can get the word out there. If it's a passive approach, it might just take a little bit too long. Right? And at the same time, that does not mean we violate other people's privacy or we bring discomfort to other people, harm other people. We have to figure out a way where we are able to achieve the maximum without bringing about detriment to the society that we are doing it for. Right?
Because these are quite passionate people, you know, when you read some of the stuff they're saying that you have to create some sort of action or you have to do something to spark the conversation because time is running out.
Correct.
You know, so their values and their
100% spot on. But is the approach the right one?
That's right. You know, where like maybe spaghettiing the Mona Lisa isn't the right way, because what they're saying, is like, why is everyone we're all paying and we're all celebrating this thing where on the grand scheme you've got the world.
Yeah.
You need to look after the sustainability of the planet. Why aren't we investing? Why isn't there action happening right now to save the planet?
It's a good question. Why aren't we doing anything about the planet? Right? So in terms of their actions grabbing attention, great. It gets people talking about it. It brings the issue to light. But does it get the message across though? Right? Even at an interpersonal level, every conversation is interpersonal at the end of the day. I may be saying the truth, but if I present it in a manner that is not appealing, the other party or the other person is unlikely to take it on board.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do not take it on board, the entire effort of trying to communicate a particular idea is missed. And it, may as well have not said anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
your wife,
Mm-hmm.
when you have to convey what's the word that I'm looking for? A sensitive idea, right?
Yep.
It cannot be done brashly, even though it may be the hard facts.
Yeah.
Right? It has to be approached in a suitable manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, after you have tried a few times and it has not worked, then that intervention sort of approach is justified. But it can't be the first thing that we go to. And we have to also ask the question that by doing this, is the relationship better off or worse off after the conversation's had? If the relationship is worse off, then was there really a point bringing it up, talking about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Similarly, like, when we have these conversations about the planet or veganism, after having that conversation, are people more inclined, or that interaction, not just a conversation, that interaction, are they open to, or do they see the positives of veganism, or are they more shut out to the idea than ever before? Right? And there's some people who absolutely loathe vegans because of this gung-ho approach and being in the face of people.
It's so preachy.
It's so preachy, yeah.
People don't...
There was this joke that I had. How do you know if a person's vegan?
They'll tell you about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to ask. They'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
Is that sending the right message? Right? If we stand for something that's positive,
Yeah.
we owe it to the ideal that people should aspire to be or to live up to this particular ideal, which is so noble, which is so lofty.
Mm-hmm.
I should not become the reason why people disconnect from the ideal itself. Right?
Yeah. How do you do that though?
One has to critically evaluate and think properly, what is the impact of a person's approach, their actions, their words on the people around them? Is it really fulfilling the job? Is it really doing something?
Yeah.
Or is it detrimental to the cause itself? And there's multiple ways of looking at it. We hear people up in arms about what has been done.
Yep.
But at the same time, we don't know how many people actually looked into the subject matter as a result of what they read or what they saw, and were actually inspired by it.
Mm.
So any story that we read on the news, it's always going to be a one-sided affair,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they'll balance it out by giving two different opinions. But we don't really know the complete picture of what's really happening until we put ourselves out there and we're trying to do the same. And in that moment, we have to be alert to what is the impact of our actions. It's not that I think this is right and you keep on doing it. I may think it is right, but is it actually making a positive impact?
Mm.
And when we say positive impact, what is it that really I want to take out there? Is it just awareness, or do I actually want people to make the change? And if I want people to make the change, then I have to be an ideal that people would aspire to be like.
Mm. Yeah, I think there's a difference between being the ideal and inspiring and almost putting something onto someone,
Yeah.
putting the ideal onto them,
Yeah.
saying you have to be this.
You can't.
Yeah.
No change is external. All changes are internal. So you have to win the person's heart,
Mm-hmm.
not just their head.
Yeah.
And if emotions don't play along, as in you trigger a negative response emotionally, chances are the change that you want is never going to come about.
Because that's almost, like myself being vegan, I don't tell other people to become it,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like then there's a need to make people, the way I see it is that, everyone's kind of got their own taste, and in their own time, they will see what they need to, they will assess where they are and what they need to do. Everyone's got their own taste. And
But then the argument in terms of that just stop oil is maybe we don't have the luxury of time for everyone to realize that we are doing the wrong thing. And therefore, a more proactive approach or a dramatic approach is needed. Right?
Yeah. Because even like what I looked on their website as well, they said that for some of their protests and marches, one of the things they highlight is, will I be arrested?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, there's potential that you could be arrested, but the cause is higher.
Yeah.
The cause comes in front of that. And so if you're willing to put yourself above that, the cause is number one, then the cause is number one, which these people are doing, and then what I'm thinking is, how does then that affect these people's families? And, imagine you're the source of the income for the family, and this is your ideal, and
yeah,
it kind of gets messy, and that's why for me, I'm like,
it's a lot to think about, and
how do I? Therefore, me, I don't want to oppose this or put this on to other people.
Yeah,
but at the same time, the time is not waiting.
Yeah, exactly. So certain things, as I said, it has to be on a case-to-case basis. And what is it that we stand for? And when we say just stop oil, let's say we are genuinely concerned about the effects of human living on global climate. What are we really doing about it? Am I willing to not drive everywhere and take public transport? Am I willing to put a little bit more money and get an electric vehicle? Am I willing to not go on holidays because air travel means a lot of carbon emissions?
And so that's what I mean. I think you got to see it kind of in the full
Yeah.
scope where, for some people they have to eat meat for them to
Some
survive.
do, not
Some,
everyone.
not everyone.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm saying is
Yeah.
like it's so different for people. I'm not saying everyone has to be a vegan because some people cannot do that.
Yeah.
In the same sense where some people have to drive to work.
Yeah.
They can't,
Absolutely.
and so it's so hard to, I don't think you can just put everyone into a box
Yes.
and say, be this.
Yep.
Which is what I feel like sometimes what these preachy vegans and protesters do is they're like, boom, you have to do this because blah, 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 blah. But like, do you even know the person that you're talking to?
Yeah.
Do you know what their world is like, what their experience is like, what do you think?
As I said, it is a really messy topic.
It is.
It is because,
And everyone's going to have an opinion, which is good. But,
right. But how do you, what they're saying is also not wrong, right? You continue driving. Yes, you need to pay your bills, but there might not be a planet left to pay.
Yeah.
bills, right? So what they're saying is also not wrong.
Yeah.
Really speaking, the onus is on those people who are in power. Those people who can make the change, it is their responsibility to make the change. But we live in a society where driven by greed. And in the name of growth, it is only greed being fueled. How is it that we are richer than ever in history and still there's poverty? How is it that we are producing the most food we have ever produced and there's still people dying of hunger?
Distribution, yeah. Where is it?
So all our growth has been for what? We haven't eradicated poverty. We haven't eradicated hunger. We haven't eradicated disease. Yet we are so medically advanced, technologically advanced. And yet they are third world countries.
Yeah.
So it has just been with greed at the center. And therefore, the conversation we had in the previous podcast, that spirituality is not anti-growth, it's anti-greed. And if greed is there, all your growth's going to amount to not a lot. Because the problems that were there before still continue to be. In fact, we have more problems than ever before.
Yeah. Yep. It is. It's very timely and interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you're trying to do good, and your values are, I hope, come from a good place. But the way it's been dealt with, that it's been shown, is so like radical. That it's forcing people to look the wrong way or not wanting to associate with.
Yeah.
So like,
and
I think it's, trying to find a way to do it out of love.
Yeah. And sometimes, we are just, as humans, we get set in our ways. Change is hard. And, there have been revolutions and it does upset some people, but it is done with the totality in mind. And so we have to make those hard choices ourselves. And if not us, it'll be forced upon us. When, when the paradigm shifts and there's a greater proportion demanding the change and we fall on the other side where we are resisting the change, we're going to be rolled over. And if it may not be by choice, it might be forced upon us by Mother Nature herself, where the calamities are so big that a lot of the population's existence itself is at stake. And then it may not be so much about having the choice. Life itself is not there to make that choice. The choice is made for you.
It's so,
And we have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if we are ready for that and we know what's coming, then it's okay. But we have this habit of complaining and cribbing and crying about everything. We need to take more responsibility for our actions.
Yeah.
Alert living.
Yep.
Right? So it's not mere thinking. Thinking should lead to actions as well. It should change it should bring about a different way of living. And that's when thinking is making a difference, or else it's just thinking, and no
Doing.
or no difference in action.
Yeah.
Then what was the point of all that thinking?
And also just reflecting again, I think, back on identity of person, who you are and what do you believe in, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and therefore making the changes based on that.
Yeah. There's certain innocent acts like that pitch invader with some color bombs on the pitch. It's not harming anyone, really speaking.
But it's a disturbance.
A distraction. It is a
right?
disturbance. But does it gain attention? Is it fulfilling the purpose of it? Yes. How many people are extremely offended by it? Not so many. Were people harmed or injured? No, not really. A little bit of time wasted in a 5-day long game of cricket. I mean, it's fine, So there are ways of doing things, and there are ways one should refrain from.
What are your thoughts on the person going into the restaurant?
I mean, people should be free to eat what they want and serve what they want. If they don't like vegans, they don't serve vegans, and that's fine. We just, do we need to shut down the restaurant? As in, not really. Do we need to harm the business in a manner that they have struggled making ends meet? Probably not. But is there a different way of doing things or getting through to them? Yes, perhaps. And I think people are starting to recognize that the dairy industry, the meat industry, is taking a huge toll on the health of the planet. They don't deny it. And today is something ridiculous, like 10% of the population globally is vegan or vegetarian. I may be wrong on that, but that was a fact that I read somewhere. That's huge. Never before.
Massive.
Like in the supermarkets, there are aisles dedicated to plant-based food. It was never the case. So it's not that it's not making a difference and people are not choosing better. There is a growing demand for it. We probably do need to step up our efforts and do a better job of it. And surely there are better ways of having this conversation as well.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that I wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
Is that you can hold your values and ideals.
Yeah.
But I think it's the way you go about communicating them and conveying them to other people.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to be rubbing off negatively onto people.
Yeah. And shutting them out completely to any of your ideas.
Yeah.
You may have a great idea, a life-changing idea, a world-saving idea. What's the point if they don't listen to it?
Not coming off in a threatening way, and not, that's why I feel like, people have the ability to choose who they are and what they want to be. And I think it's more about the discussion with the person. Okay, you're doing this, cool. There's so much more to who you are than just what you eat.
Yeah.
It's about, cool, you do that, but okay, how do you travel? How do you do this? Where do you source stuff? How do you think about the world? Maybe, you could, just because you're not vegan doesn't mean that the world the what I'm trying to say is that it's not that you're not thinking about the health of the planet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And I think that's what people miss or aren't seeing.
Yeah.
Is that there are people out there who are thinking about the planet. They're just doing it in their way.
As long as they're doing something about it.
That's right. You know, it's
'Cause
better.
we can't afford not to do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, true.
It's very good. It's a very touchy topic, and everyone is going to have opinions because, again, it really pushes us to the limits and
Yeah.
really makes us question what we are doing right now and what we are thinking and why we are thinking. And I feel like that's why there's so much friction around this. But the reality is what the reality is,
Yeah.
you know, and therefore we have to sit and reflect and think about our actions.
Yep.
Thank you, Shanji.
Pleasure.
Hariom.
Hariom.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Thinking is Free, proudly brought to you by Chinmaya Mission New Zealand. For more information on events, courses, seva projects and study groups, please visit chinmaya.org.nz. Hariom.